I cannot sing and I cannot dance, so I'll review these albums instead. I know. How about Block Party? I cannot sing, no I cannot sing, I cannot sing, I cannot sing, I cannot sing and I cannot sing. Yeah, take that 2005. One of the biggest movements in British music of the 2010s has definitely been that of the grime renaissance, returning to the traditional hardcore sound of the 2000s, except now with a greater sense of ambition and huge commercial success to go with this. And grime's now, for the first time, succeeded internationally, with various scenes appearing all over the world, and American hip-hop artists such as Drake and A$AP Rocky now collaborating with UK MCs. However, in the past few months, its momentum definitely seems to have ceased. In fact, it's still going strong underground, but grime definitely seems to have suddenly dropped out of the mainstream again. This is probably because all the major artists, be it Skepta, Giggs, Stormzy, Kano, JME, etc., all released their albums in the 2015 to 2017 high period. And so as a result, these few months are their break time in between albums. So we're suddenly left with this gap where grime has suddenly vanished from its success. However, I think grime was on the way out anyhow, because I personally think this whole grime movement should instead be just called the UK hip-hop movement, because grime has got such a specific sound that any strong divergence instantly sets it out from grime and into just hip-hop on the whole. And in fact, as a result of this, some of the more recent acclaimed hip-hop albums from the UK have been ones that have strayed from the grime sound. Now, on the one hand, this has backfired to an extent, with the likes of Krept and Conan and Nines just straight up copying US hip-hop, and so when stripped of the unique UK sound, have ended up making hip-hop albums that are just totally forgetful and boring. However, on the other hand, some artists have really all gone right in creatively and succeeded as a result, with J Hoos moving into Afrobeat and Loyal Carner taking more of an alternative approach to hip-hop, mixing in more guitar elements and the cold electronica. But despite this, grime is still trying to hold onto its crown as the main hip-hop genre in the UK, and so, while all the big boys are away, it looks like it's up to the up-and-coming underground artists to keep this hold. And this is where Novelist comes in, who has been up and coming for a while, despite actually starting at the top, featuring on Skepta's album Konnichiwa, which is the album that kicked off this whole grime renaissance and is arguably the standout grime album of this decade. He's also collaborated with Jamie XX, Chase and Status, he's won a Mobo Award, he's featured on Rinse FM. So it seemed like he was on the rise straight up. However, there have been some stumbling blocks. For instance, he left XL Records, his label, and produced this album entirely on his own. So he is definitely a fully self-sufficient artist, which is something I truly admire. Furthermore, many critics have noted how this album should be unique and how it's not by one of the founding grime artists. Because you have to remember, grime is only 15 years old by this point, only truly getting kicked off in 2003. And so, as Novelist is such a young guy, I think he's about 21 at this point, so he probably would have been about 18 or something when this came out. This is an album not by an artist that created grime, but by an artist who grew up listening to and being inspired by grime. So for all you know, this could be the first defining statement by Grime Generation 2. In fact, to give you an idea of how independent this album is, there are no guest stars on it, no guest vocalists, collaborations, nope, none of that. And also, this album doesn't even have a CD release, which really annoys me. This sense of generational inspiration is demonstrated right throughout the album, with the majority of the beats having a cold and mechanical sound, just like early grime. This is particularly evident on the track ... which sounds like it could have been lifted straight from Boy in the Corner. In fact, this is enhanced by the fact that these tracks have been produced in the same way as these early grime tracks, on a home computer using a free software, in this case Fruity Loops. These prove effective in regards to the album's dark subject matter, with the sparse nature of the beats providing no place for the bleak lyrics to hide. For instance, the track Stop Killing the Mandem deals with police violence. the lyrics being a bit too on the nose for me, though on the whole their bluntness adds to the bleakly real and horrific nature of such events. However, this tribute to the boy in the corner, Dizzee Rascal, or that early grime era, this is where the big problem of the album lies, in how it struggles to form its own identity. Though there is a good sense of personality, as there is on most grime albums. As a person, Novelist is highly religious and also highly politically aware. In fact, he was the deputy mayor of Lewisham and an active participant in the Grime for Corbyn movement. And so throughout the album he tackles various social issues, including the aforementioned police violence, lying news, the pressure to join gangs in crime-ridden environments, black identity, etc. And God is frequently mentioned all amongst this. Nov also has a clearly set ideology for dealing with such pressures, presenting a mature and interesting perspective on the issues the album deals with. On Gangster, a track rife with eerie beats, Nov deconstructs the typical hip-hop thug image and aims for people to follow themselves and how they can learn more from life that way. On Smiles, Nov takes a hopeful approach, focusing on feeling good through relying on himself despite being surrounded by violence, the beat being both smooth and glitchy simultaneously, reflecting the theme of remaining calm amid chaos. There's also a clear emphasis on artistry, with various features highlighting this project as being intended to be heard as an album as a whole. These include the short interludes and the fact that the album is bookended by tracks titled Start and The End, the latter being an instrumental version of the former. In fact, Start is definitely one of the highlights of the album, with its menacing and eerie, yet chilled and hopeful synthy piano refrain sticking in the mind. However, as good as this all is, it can only go so far. As a tribute to early grime, the album is brilliant and well made. However, if tracks from this were placed alongside classic grime, I don't think it would stand out. Like, the majority of the tracks aren't particularly catchy, and the highly repetitive nature of the lyrics could be seen as making it more hardcore, but this tends to come across as irritating more so than adding to the listening experience. As a result, the wannabe singles, such as Whole 9 Yards and Man Better Jump, are probably the least good tracks on the album in my opinion. On the whole though, this is a well-made album, with its cold and mechanical beats that enhances the lyrics and is a great tribute to the classic grime sound. But it fails to be truly memorable. Basically, I think Novelist has come into the game a bit too late. The classic grime sound has already been revisited, grime albums have already evolved to have a greater sense of ambition and concept, as shown by the works of Stormzy and Kano, and the grime sound itself has lost ground as UK hip-hop has continued to innovate. The lack of a clear single cements this fate. A well-made artistic statement, but without a unique signature to make it stand out, and on the whole, despite the critical acclaim and the Mercury Prize nod, the lack of a chart position kinda speaks for itself. For all its good points, Novelist still has a while to go before he's got the whole 9 yards, so for me it's a solid 6 out of 10, with the best tracks in my opinion being Start, Gangster, Smiles and ... and the worst probably being the wannabe singles that aren't catchy enough, like the Whole 9 Yards and Man Better Jump, and Nov B2B DeeCee. Again, one of the short interlude tracks, but this one just kind of feels like a bit of added texture as opposed to something to truly stand out or whatever. For those out there who want to hear more like this album, definitely listen to tons of classic early 2000s grime. Something like The Essentials would probably be Dizzee Rascal, on the stuff like Boy in the Corner, not this one as good as I like this. The stuff by Lethal Bizzle, all the Wiley stuff, and also some of the revival grime that takes from this old sound and replicates it, like Skepta on Konnichiwa and Wiley on his album The Godfather. As for those of you who are already grime fans and already keyed up with all the essentials, then I'd say this sounds like an obvious location, but just definitely keep listening to the Fire in the Booth YouTube channel from Radio 1 Extra DJ Charlie Sloth, because as I said, there's just, since the revival has started, there's just been so many new young grime artists coming up and up and up. It's impossible to keep up with them all, and with there you're given a constant flow of new MCs to enjoy, so definitely go there if you're looking for more grime to fill your ears with. However, if you're just into UK hip-hop on the whole, I'd say definitely try the album Run, Come, Save Me by Manuva. Many often label this as one of the greats among British hip-hop, however, it's often missed by the bigger community. I'd say it's not a perfect album, there are tons of flaws and dud tracks on it, but where it hits good, it hits really good. Especially Witness, try that track and you'll just be hooked into this straight away, and Dreamy Days. Basically start and end, that's where the good stuff is. Or just all the key ones that have just racked up the tons of acclaim over these recent years and show and bring up questions as to where exactly is UK hip-hop going to go next. The aforementioned Loyal Carner and the mega acclaimed and successful J Hoos. So, that's all for now. I still can't sing. Please subscribe. Sayonara! The album Run Comes Out. For those just like UK hip-hop, try the Manuva album, Run Come Save Me. Yes, got it.